Hi, Kanchana, and welcome to the About Her show. Now, this is a platform where we get women achievers, who we call women trailblazers, to share the stories of their lives with us, to tell us about their celebrations, challenges, ups and downs, joys and sorrows, so that other women who are listening in also get inspired to get out of whatever is holding them back and realize their potential. Because I feel that a lot of us, a lot of women in particular, have these desires to do something, but for various reasons, they are unable to. But when they hear that other women have done it and they listen to those women talking about those, I think there is some hope. There is some chance of theirs, getting inspired. So that's the whole idea behind this. And so, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. I'm delighted and honored to be on this show with you. And yes, I completely agree with you. I think, women inspire other women.
Yeah.
You and I have been inspired by some other women. You inspire me with your enthusiasm and dynamism. And I think it's very important for us to, kind of work together as a community of women to help each other and pull each other up. And so I think this is a great initiative that you have undertaken and what you're doing. Kudos to you.
Thank you so much. It's always actually a pleasure to get like minded people, like minded women, on the platform. All right, so let's dive in.
Yes.
Okay. So, tell us a little bit about your childhood, your early life, and how you think those experiences shaped your personality or, made you kind of choose the life path that you ultimately ended up choosing.
So, Sangeeta, as my name and surname reveals, Kanchana Banerjee.
Yeah.
Before my marriage, that's my surname after marriage. Before marriage, I was Kanchana Mukherjee. So
Okay.
that should tell you that I'm a Bengali.
Of course.
And being a Bengali, I have grown up surrounded by books and surrounded by a reading atmosphere in the house.
Yeah.
My earliest memory of family time with my father, mother, and my grandmother. We were a very small nuclear family. I'm an only child. So
Hmm.
I have seen the elders in the family sit down with a book and read. And of course, again, another thing which you and I have in common is that we come from a time when the television had only Doordarshan, and
Yeah.
Doordarshan had only Krishi Darshan and Chitrahar and
Yeah.
one Sunday movie. We did not have the luxury and the privilege of cable TV and Netflix and etc. And to some extent, I thank our stars for
Yeah.
having grown up with that kind of that kind of an atmosphere where reading was the pastime hobby, and reading is what was inculcated. So I've grown up reading, and I've grown up with this innate desire to write. And as far back as I can remember, I
Mhm.
wanted to write and become, get published and write for newspapers, magazines. And as I grew up, I started working with Times of India, with Statesman, with Telegraph, and then and when you're kind of writing professionally
Yeah.
for a newspaper and etc. So I think the end goal is automatically becomes to be a published author. So
Yeah.
I think that's where the seed of this dream was planted, and then which kind of finally grew into a large tree, if you will. So that is my history. I mean, I have always wanted to be a writer. I've always wanted to study English, and that's what I studied in my graduation. And then I did my master's in literature from Jadavpur University in Kolkata. So
Mhm.
my entire life has been in preparation to become a fiction author.
Wow. So that means as a child, you kind of knew that this is what you wanted to do, or was this like slowly you gravitated towards it?
No, very clearly, I knew that I wanted to write. I wanted to write, and I used to visit all the book fairs in Delhi. At that time,
Okay.
as a child, I used to live in Delhi. So
Mhm.
I used to go to Pragati Maidan with my father and see all these books. And I used to dream of writing a book. And as I grew older, when I used to go to bookshops by myself, later with my son, with my husband, I used to look at the shelves which had Indian authors. And at that time, this is way back in the late 1990s, early 2000, when the
Mhm.
shelf containing Indian authors wasn't very large. And I
Yeah.
used to look at, Amish Tripathi's book and etc. And I used to think that, when will I when will I write a book, and when will a book with my name be on a shelf like this? So
Hmm.
I've always wanted to, write a book, get published. I've always wanted to do that.
That's wonderful, actually. And, also the fact that you were so clear early on in your life about what you wanted to do. Because I think a lot of us are not that clear. We have many dreams, many aspirations, and I guess, because we have so many of them, we can't stay focused. So I think this really
Mm.
helped you. And of course, we know where you are. So tell us a
Mm.
little bit about the kind of books that you write. Of course, I know, but for the listeners, yes, it will greatly
Yeah.
help.
So I've written and published 5 books so far, and some of my books have been published by HarperCollins, and some of them have been published by Om Books. And I basically write in the thriller genre, crime stories. I'm fascinated by thrillers. I've always enjoyed reading thrillers, watching thriller movies, and later on, web series and stuff like that. Though
Yeah.
my first book, A Forgotten Affair, it is not a thriller, it is not a crime story. It's a very woman-centric story. It's
Mm-hmm.
about the educated, qualified women in so-called educated, rich families where they are minimized and emotionally abused. So that is a relationship drama.
Yeah.
And my first book was published by HarperCollins, and subsequently my second also. So uh, the first one was kind of born out of my second-hand experience of seeing women in different scenarios, some in my larger family, some among my friends, being minimized and being kind of subjugated by their husbands. And I wanted to write about this concept of emotional abuse in affluent homes, because it's a myth that that abuse, domestic abuse of any kind, happens only in the very lower strata of society. It happens in the middle and the higher strata of society too. But
Mm-hmm.
having gotten that book out of the way, because that is a subject which was very close to my heart, and I wanted to write about it. Then I moved away from the relationship drama genre, and I started writing thrillers, because as some of my readers and my editors have told me, that I am a thriller writer at
Mhm.
heart. So,
Okay.
in fact, I have some of my books here. This is my latest book,
Hmm.
and these are my earlier books that I have just kept here.
Yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, so I started writing thriller books, and yeah, and my latest book, Until I Find You, was just released. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know. So you want to tell us a little bit about it, about what the book is about?
Yeah. So Until I Find You, I'm very fascinated by true crime, and by events that have happened, cold cases in the world and in the country. So,
Hmm.
I was doing some research quite some time back, long before I started writing Until I Find You, and I learned and I read about this cult leader called Jim Jones.
Hmm.
He lived in USA in early 1970s, and he built a cult called People's Temple. If
Okay.
anybody just does Google search about Jim Jones and People's Temple, you will find out that he was extremely influential, and he had become a very, very powerful cult leader. However, in 1974, the entire cult, about 300, 400 people, including Jim Jones, they committed a mass suicide by drinking a fruit drink laced with cyanide. So,
Okay.
when I read that, I just felt that this could be a very interesting starting point for a story. Now,
Hmm.
my story is not based in USA. It is based very much in contemporary India. In
Okay.
fact, it happens in a fictional village, a small town, a village called Banod in Shikhavati in Rajasthan,
Okay.
where so my story is on the premise that what if a cult leader like this kills his entire cult, and
Hmm.
he does not die. He fakes his own death, and he runs away. And there is also another survivor
Hmm.
from the cult who has not died. And what if that? And what if the second survivor is a young woman who is trying to hunt him down? So,
Wow.
and that is why the name of the book is Until I Find You. So the woman is trying to hunt him down, and make him pay for what he did. But there is a startling twist at the end of the story, which I can guarantee it will hit you and every other reader with a bang, because that's what most readers have gotten back to me and told me, that we did not see the end coming at all.
Okay.
So that's what the book is about.
Actually, this is giving me goosebumps just listening to this. So I'm sure if I when I read it, yes, it is on my TBR. Haven't got down to reading it, but yes, I will now. All right. So tell me, of course, you wanted to write ever since you were a child, and so of course, I'm sure the journey must have taken its own, time. You must have faced, challenges along the way. So could you elaborate on some of those challenges, and also if you think that some of those were because of your gender?
Yeah. So, to answer the first part of your question,
Mhm.
I took a long time to actually, start writing fiction. And there is no particular reason for it. It's just that I think, sometimes things happen at a time that they are destined to. So,
Yeah.
as I said earlier on, that I've always kind of wanted to write. So I was writing for various newspapers, magazines, companies, and I used to be a freelance writer, a freelance corporate writer, and I've been in that role for almost, I was in that role for almost about 18 years. And
Okay.
I did, but at the back of my mind, I was constantly, thinking that I want to write a story. But at that time, I did not have any story ideas in my mind. Probably I was kind of, too consumed with the kind of work that I was doing for newspapers,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, and other companies. So this is sometime in early 2000, about 2005 6. I did I did an online writing course with London School of Journalism, a
Okay.
very in-depth course of about 9 to 10 months, and that sparked off some ideas, some thoughts, and I did and I wrote a couple of short stories, but that's it. And then much later, end 2013, when
Mm-hmm.
I moved to Gurgaon, I was still doing a lot of corporate writing in Bombay. We moved to Gurgaon from Bombay, and believe me, Sangeeta, I was all set to start my corporate writing stint in Gurgaon, because as you know, Gurgaon is full of so many companies.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was all set, and there was a chance meeting that I had with a lady. She was completely unknown to me, and now she's one of my closest friends. Her name is Kiran Chaturvedi,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
two of us got talking, and we just started conducting writing workshops in Gurgaon. This is in 2014, January, February.
Hmm.
And as we and my all my plans for corporate writing just went out of the window, and
Mhm.
I immersed myself in those workshops that we were conducting. And as we were conducting the workshops, I began writing my first book. And because of the workshops, I started interacting with other published authors, with other aspiring writers, aspiring authors. I began to talk to various publishing houses, because we were doing tie-ups with them, inviting editors to come in and talk. So I just, life just took me into a different direction. And in hindsight, when I think about it, Sangeeta, I feel that, life had set the stage for me in Gurgaon, and
Yeah,
it was just waiting for me to land up here. So, which is why I say that, sometimes we keep on worrying that, I really want this to happen, but it's not happening. It's not happening. There is a time and a place for everything. We just have to be patient, and we have to be patient and ready to grasp that opportunity. When opportunity knocks at your door, you must be ready to grab it with both of your hands and work hard at it.
yeah,
Nothing happens easily. Nothing happens just by itself.
yeah.
Opportunity presents itself in the strangest of ways. If that day when Kiran told me that, Kanchana, why don't you and I start conducting writing workshops? If I had said no, and
Yeah,
if I had gone back to my corporate writing, maybe all of this wouldn't have happened. So
yeah,
I guess you have to be ready. First, you have to be patient, because life has its own plans for you. You
yeah,
have to be
yeah,
patient. And then secondly, you have to be ready to grasp the opportunity and make the most of it. So I hope I've answered the first part of your question. And to answer the second part about my gender, no, my gender did not get in the way of me getting published. But having published, I won't say I faced obstacles because of being a woman, but there were certain rather strange comments that were thrown in my direction
mm,
after I switched over to the dark side, as many of my friends often tease me that you write such dark and psychological thrillers. Some readers have approached me and said that, you are a woman and
Mm.
you are a mother, you are a wife, you love dogs. How is it that you write such dark and twisted stories? Now, by this analogy, Stephen King and James Patterson must be, psychos who should be shut up in mental hospitals. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
and then like some readers, some people have come and told me that, you write like a man, you write so wonderfully, you write like a man.
Oh,
Because I
okay.
write thrillers. So, some of these ridiculous statements have come to me much later. But yeah, sometimes it irritates me, and sometimes, I just, try and kind of give them back a repartee. But most of the times I just ignore it, because I just tell them, stop being so sexist and foolish. Please
Yeah.
listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Actually, I'm sure they don't because yeah, and that's pretty strange. I mean, how can a woman not write a thriller? I mean, you don't have to be a man to do that, but I guess, there are all kinds of people who make up this world. So that's,
Yeah.
I guess, it goes with part
Hmm.
of being where we are. So tell me, anyone who's aspiring to be like you, aspiring to be a
Hmm.
published author, are there any tips that you would like to share?
Loads. Start off with lots of reading. Start off with lots of reading. You cannot be a writer, you cannot be an author unless you are a voracious reader. And
Yeah,
read across the genre, and of course read the genre that interests you the most, and and what you intend to write. What you intend to write should be the genre that you enjoy to read the most. Because as a writer, as an author, you are the first reader of your book.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you don't enjoy what you're writing, chances are no one else will enjoy it either. See,
yeah,
you will hear a lot of people telling you different kinds of things, that thrillers don't sell, romances sell more, mythology sells even more, nonfiction sells the most, which is right. In India,
mm,
if you go by the sales trends, nonfiction, mythology, they sell the most. After that, it is romances, and thrillers don't really sell that much in India. Internationally, they are a huge market, much much bigger than what it is in India. But don't try to write the genre that has a better marketability option. Write a genre that you enjoy reading. Because if you write what you enjoy reading, chances are you will write it well, and
yeah,
it will get more takers. As Albert Einstein is believed to have said, that do what you like doing, do what you enjoy doing. If you
yeah,
do what you enjoy, chances are you will do it well. So it is very important, and don't go by trends. Just put your heart and soul into the writing process, and don't think about, how will I get a publisher, how will I get an agent, how will I sell the book. All that comes much later.
mm,
First, you need to have a very good book. Sink yourself, submerge yourself in the world of the characters that you're creating. Then another thing I really feel which helps is that, be part of a writing community. There are lots of writing communities on Facebook,
mm,
and otherwise also. Right, like, join a writing community, find like-minded people. It
mm,
is important to have be a part of a larger group,
mm,
which you can attend meetings and you can attend events. But out of that larger group, select some 5 6 people who are in the same boat as you. There is a very important reason for this. I strongly know and believe that, writing is a very solitary journey. It is not like any other job where you go to the office and you have a team. It is not a teamwork. It
mm,
is a solitary activity. And most of the time, you're sitting alone in the corner of your room, in the corner of a cafe, or wherever, writing in your notebook or writing on your laptop. So, and there will be challenges, there will be situations which you cannot explain to your loved ones, to
mm,
your family, to your mother, to your brother, your siblings, your husband, your spouse, your partner, unless and until they are authors themselves. Like,
mm.
the frustration of a writer's block cannot be explained to a non-writer. Then
Yes.
the frustration of, um, the story is not going in the way that I think it should go, or I don't know how to overcome this obstacle with a character.
Hmm.
These are things which you cannot discuss with a non-writer. They will not understand, and it is not because they don't care enough for you.
Hmm.
It's just that, like they say, that the pressures of a medical profession are so unique that only a medical professional can understand. you know
Correct.
the, and then, like, for example, a person working in the news industry, the challenges and the difficulties and the situations in the news industry are something which only people in that industry can understand. So
Correct.
you need to have friends, and you need to have confidants with whom you can discuss your problems. And misery does not like being alone. Misery seeks company, and when misery has company, it feels less miserable. So,
Hmm.
and then when you start submitting your manuscript to publishing houses, the fear and the anxiety of waiting for the yes email,
Hmm.
and the abject humiliation when you open it and see that it is, sorry, regret to inform you, we are not accepting. That is again something which another fellow writer can understand. Your
Absolutely.
family, your friends, your best of your friends will not understand that, how crushing it feels. So
Hmm.
it's very important to have writer friends with whom you can discuss your highs and your lows. And don't feel that they will steal my story. Nobody can write the story that you are writing.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
can probably take the idea, but your story, your words will be yours. And I completely believe that, हमारे हिस्से की रोशनी और हमारे हिस्से की बारिश हमारे पास ही आती है. It
Yes.
comes to us. If it doesn't come to us, it's not meant to be ours. So,
Hmm.
kind of spread yourself out, go interact with other writers, attend book events, go and listen to published authors. Because when you are, this is something which I did when I was writing my first book. And also because we were doing these workshops, so we were meeting with a lot of published authors. If you can see the end goal in front of you in
Hmm.
the shape of a published author talking about his or her book, it constantly motivates you. I
Yeah.
want to get there. I want to have a book event like this. I want to have a book launch like this. I want to be on the stage talking about my book.
Hmm.
Because, as I said, writing is so solitary and so heartbreakingly difficult that unless and until you keep your eyes on the prize all the time, it's very difficult to motivate yourself. So, and then, of course, write as much as you can. Don't, try and write every day, even if it does not happen every day, because, people have work, people have careers. Take out little bit of time to, build the writing muscle. And, at the end of it, so, there are a lot of these small, small things which I think, people who want to write can do, which I'm sure will help them.
Yes, I'm sure. Because, sometimes you just don't know, what should you be doing, and is it, and also
Hmm.
you may be in, there is a lot of self-doubt that what I'm doing or not doing, is it right or not? So, when somebody, like, you are a published author and you could be somebody's goal, like you said. So when you say certain things, they carry a lot of weight. And, I may be
Hmm.
out there, a new person, not knowing what to do, but when I hear somebody who's been there and done that, obviously I
Hmm.
get a
Yeah.
lot of encouragement, a lot of motivation. So I'm sure
Hmm.
these tips will be of great use to someone like me as well. Okay.
Thank you.
So, Kanchana, tell me, of course, you have your work and like we all do, and family and, all of that, but not all days are the same. There are days when we are down and out, not feeling quite bright and wanting to work. So, how do you cope with those low days or those days when you're not feeling so, up and about?
So, Sangeeta, I'm an extrovert.
Okay.
Unlike what a lot of authors will tell you that they're introverts, I'm not an introvert. I'm an extrovert. I
Hmm.
have a very large group of friends. In fact, my friends, they keep on teasing me that Kanchana to knows the whole world. No,
Yeah.
I don't know the whole world, but yeah, I have lots of different groups of friends. And of course, I have a very large group of author friends, or writing friends, or in the book industry. But other than my writing friends, I have a lot of other friends. And I love socializing. I
Mm.
love going to parties. I love hanging out with my friends. I like doing a lot of outdoor stuff. I like cycling. Me and my husband cycle a lot. Then my husband and I, we take frequent holidays. We take frequent trips. I'm a dog person, so I've had dogs in the house for a very long time. So I play with my dogs. I love gardening. And, I find a lot of similarity between gardening and writing. Gardening, you kind of plant a seed or you plant a sapling. It's almost like the birth of an idea in your
Yeah.
mind. And slowly the idea grows into a full story. Gradually the sapling grows into, a plant and a bigger tree. And you give it sun, you give it water, you add manure to it. So in the same way, the idea, germinates in your head. So I do a lot of other things, to kind of, keep me up and about. And not because and also because, Sangeeta, I write such dark psychological stories. I think it's very important for me to not be in a shell. And of course,
Mm.
I'm not a person who kind of is, or lives in her shell. I'm very much an, outward person. So
Hmm.
all these things help me. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So I guess having hobbies, having people, circle of people who
Yeah.
you can kind of reach out to if needed, I think that helps.
Yeah.
And yes, I think hobbies are so important. You can't be doing only
Hmm.
work. It is important to have other things as well. Okay. So of course, we all go through various life experiences, various, lessons life teaches us.
Hmm.
So anything in particular that you would like to share, which you think you could have done differently, or something that life made you learn, maybe as a woman,
So,
maybe
so
as
are
a
you talking about, in my journey as an author, or in my life as
no,
such?
in your life as an author, as a woman, anything that you would like to share, anything which kind of, just comes out there immediately to your mind that
Hmm.
this is something that I learned, this is my experience, which I would like to share.
Okay, so of course, I mean there are a lot of these small, some large, some not so small, some not so large incidents which have happened, in the past, which I feel I could have handled better, I could have handled differently. So when I go back, this happened soon after my marriage, about 1.5, 2 years after marriage. We, as in my husband and I, we were living in Calcutta, and I got, I got a job as the Femina correspondent to Calcutta, in Calcutta. I was overjoyed to get that job, because I had been eyeing that post for a very long time. And soon after, as I got that job, a couple of months after that, my husband got transferred to Hyderabad. And I wanted to, kind of have a house of my own, as any young bride would want. So
Hmm.
I left that job and I went with him to Hyderabad. And of course, once in Hyderabad, I kind of, reached out to Times of India again, and I began working for Times of India in Hyderabad. And I got a very meaty role there. But somewhere at the back of my mind, I always kind of regretted having let go of that opportunity as
Hmm.
the Calcutta correspondent to Femina.
Hmm.
So that has always kind of, stayed with me, even much later. Every time I used to see Femina magazine on the, anywhere in the magazine stall, I used to feel, kind of a
What
pang of regret that I wish I hadn't given that up. So
that what
yeah,
I
I mean,
what is feeling? Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess. But then, like they say, you end up doing what you're meant to do and what you're destined to do.
exactly,
You
exactly.
can't get to do is probably because you were not meant to do it. Okay.
Hmm,
So, Kanchana, young girls nowadays, I mean, with so much of
hmm,
exposure and so much of awareness, and I think the choices that they have make their lives
hmm.
somewhat more difficult than what it was for us. So, anything that you would like to tell them in terms of tips, I mean, especially young girls who are embarking on their professional and personal journeys, personal lives. What do you
Hmm.
think are certain things that young girls should keep in mind?
So this is a very interesting and a very difficult question.
Hmm.
In the sense, I would tell them, to go all out, to not hold back anything. Like, I feel that I got married very early. I got married when I was just 23 and a half. I
Hmm.
had a child when I was, about 26. And I feel that, I did all these things too early, and I should have really focused on my career.
Hmm.
But then, I think there is no perfect, or there is no perfect solution to any situation in life. And no matter which road you choose, later on in life, you will keep on thinking what would have happened if I had taken the other
Yeah.
road. But I feel that, the most important thing that young girls now, which I feel in my generation, it
Yeah.
has come to us a lot later. They know what they want pretty much early on in life, and that is thanks to the upbringing that our generation has given to them, and also the enormous amount of exposure which the world has, kind of opened up for them.
Yeah.
So I think, one of the most important decisions that women should take is that their life choices, think about the life choices that you make very, very carefully. As in, by life choices, I mean that, choosing your life partner. That is the single most important decision in your life, which will impact not just your personal life, but also your job, your career, and your mental wellness and everything.
Mm.
People say that kind of, choosing which stream to study and which job to work at are important. But I think much more than that, making the right decision of who to be with, who should your partner be, that's a very, very important, important decision in your life, which can affect a lot of other things. Then
Yeah.
another thing is, don't ignore your health. It's
Mhm.
very, very important. I see a lot of young girls, who are very skinny, who are very thin, saying that I don't need to exercise because I'm very thin. Thin does not mean healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thin is just thin. Thin
Mm.
does not equate healthy. So, and in no time, the 20s become 30s and 40s and 50s. So
Yeah.
don't ignore your health. Fitness is not about constantly being a smaller size and being able to wear tighter clothes and shorter clothes. No, that is not what fitness is.
Mm.
Fitness is, strong body, strong bones, strong immunity,
Yeah.
and you need to be careful about that. So don't take your health for granted.
Yeah. 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 So, what about independence when it comes to financial and emotional independence? Where would you
Oh,
place
very
that?
important.
Hmm?
Very important.
Yeah.
I think financial independence is very, very important. It's
Mm.
very, don't undermine yourself and be dependent on someone else.
Yeah.
Because the world that they live now is kind of very, very different from what it was when you and I were young. I
Yeah.
think it is extremely important to have financial independence, to have money at your disposal, so that you are not minimized and you are not forced to accept a situation that you don't want to accept.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That I think is very important, and young girls need to, keep that in mind. And even I
Mm,
feel even emotionally, one should be independent in the sense, of course, that is much harder because when you are in a
much
relationship,
harder.
you are emotionally attached. But I think
Mm,
somewhere,
mm,
like they say, self-love is important. I mean, self-love is not
yes.
being selfish, but at the same time, I mean, there is a thin line, but you should kind of take care of yourself. Like you said, health and all these things, they're very, very important. We cannot ignore them. Yeah, that's
But having said that, I think this younger generation, they it is us, Sangeeta, our generation, which needs to be reminded all the time about the importance of self love. But
yes.
the younger generation, I think they are very, very cued into this aspect. For them, their personal self, their personal space is of paramount importance. Sometimes I feel that they need to be told, "Ki Baba, you're not an island. There are,
Yes.
try to be a little more inclusive with others, and try to include other people." So I think self love, in my generation, needs to understand. Women of your and my age group need to understand the importance of self love, but the younger generation, I don't think, need to be reminded of that.
Maybe I think they have a greater danger of going to the other side, you know.
Yes, yes.
So yeah. So I guess, little bit of balance has to be there. You have to strike
Yeah,
balance
yeah.
between both. You can't be, I mean,
Mm.
on any extreme. So, Kanchana, you have made a name for yourself in your field. I mean, you're a published author. So, of course, there is name, there is fame. People know that you have been successful in what you started out doing. So my question is that how does the world react to a successful woman? And when I say the world, I mean both men and women. How do people react to women who are successful, who've been successful?
Um, so I think, I've actually been quite fortunate, in the creative field, in the literary field, in the creative field. I think people in general are in awe of authors. Every
Mm,
time I'm introduced by anyone at a gathering, or at a party, um, that I'm a published author.
mm,
Eyebrows go, oh yeah, wow, that's the first reaction.
yeah.
And then when I tell them that I write crime, they said, "Oh my God." So it's wow followed by "Oh my God." And
Mm,
then usually, some of them will ask me the question that I told you earlier, that, "Oh my God, why, how does a woman like you who loves wearing saris write thrillers?" So that question aside, I've actually been quite fortunate that
mm,
I have not really met with any kind of weird questions, or kind of um, a any kind of obstacle from being accepted.
oh,
So I guess women who are in, say, finances, or who are in the corporate world in a different avatar, they
mm,
probably have faced some distinct um, adverse reaction or something, but I have never really felt that, so I really can't comment on this.
okay, okay. But
But
generally, yeah, yeah,
no,
please.
but in general, I have a lot of friends who are doing very well, in their jobs in the corporate world. They are in very senior position. Sometimes I have seen that in a social gathering. I'm not talking about in an official gathering. I'm
Hmm,
talking about in a social gathering, while the men make their little boys group talking about business stuff,
hmm,
these women are not really, they are kind of, in a no man's land, because
okay.
they feel that they don't belong with the women who like to talk about. Now, I'm not trying to be sexist here, okay? I'm not trying to denigrate anyone,
Hmm,
but they don't fit in with the boys, because the boys don't want to include them.
hmm.
They're busy, and I'm talking about social gatherings, some
Yeah, yeah,
parties, like when we
yeah.
go to somebody's house for a party. So these women don't really kind of migrate to that boys group unless they know someone there who pulls them in.
Yeah,
They also don't feel a part of the women's group, because the women, if the women's group is essentially of homemakers and non-working, non-corporate, they
mm,
are talking about their own domestic issues, so they feel kind of lost in a no man's land.
yeah,
And
yeah,
sometimes I've seen them look a little out of place and feel a little out of sorts.
yeah,
This is
yeah, yeah.
in a large ambiguous gathering. If it
Mm,
is a gathering of friends where everyone knows everyone,
that's
that's a
different.
very different thing.
But yeah,
But
I've
of
also
course,
done it.
yeah.
Yeah, because
But
they
of course,
kind of don't.
nowadays, yeah,
Sorry.
but of course nowadays the percentage or the number of working women has increased exponentially. So I've seen that women kind of then just get together, and they are chit chatting on their own. So
Mm,
sometimes I've seen them kind of feel a little out of place.
okay. So now, I have seen a lot of this happening around me, and I am one of those people as well. So a lot of people, when they reach nowadays in their, they reach their 40s and, late 40s, early 50s, they start, looking towards doing other things, not what they
Mm,
studied to become, maybe a doctor, getting into writing. I mean, picking up a second career, which I would like to call as, I refer to it as midlife rebooting. You suddenly don't
mm,
want to do what you have been doing all these years, or maybe like what I'm doing, continue to do what you were doing, but you also pick up other things along the way.
Hmm.
I don't think that people in the earlier days, or people, maybe our parents, did not have these
Hmm.
interests or did not want to do other things, but for various reasons they could not do it.
Hmm.
So why do you think this is happening so much nowadays?
I think it is happening so much nowadays for a few reasons. One is that, again, Sangeeta, our generation,
Yeah.
I was not, I was given the complete freedom to study English and to pursue it. But many of my friends were not given that freedom. They
Yeah.
did, they had parental pressure, parental expectation. In fact, yesterday I was recording a conversation with another author.
Hmm.
She's also a thriller author, and she lives in Singapore. And
Hmm.
she was telling, she has studied in an engineering college. She has worked in a headhunting firm for many years, for almost 15 years, 10, 15 years, before, her husband put his foot down and said that, enough is enough. You just, follow your dreams now. If not now, then when? So the
Hmm.
thing is, my generation, our generation,
Hmm.
some of us had to kind of toe the line and do what our parents expected us to do, wanted us to do. And also the societal acceptance of taking English or history as a subject, or going into a culinary school to study cooking or baking was not acceptable,
Yeah.
even for a girl.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, we were, like girls who wanted to pursue a cookery class, or who wanted to pursue anything, anything creative or something very different from science or any commerce, or arts, was like, ye kya mazak hai? Or suppose, like, just think about it. If you as a 23-year-old, first of all, there were no there was no podcasting available there. But suppose if you had told your mother that I want to be a podcaster, they would have said, have you lost your marbles? I mean, what's
Yeah.
wrong with you? Or
Yeah.
suppose you or your husband had told their parents that we want to be a stand-up comedian,
Hmm.
hypothetically at that time.
Yeah.
मतलब you will go up on the stage and you will crack jokes, and you think you'll make a living out of it. So,
Hmm.
so the world was, so I don't want to blame our parents for kind of forcing their children to take a certain path, because
Hmm.
the world at that time had very limited options.
Yeah.
So, you are a product of your times. It's not very easy for anyone and everyone to think outside the road that we are walking on. So
Hmm.
they wanted to make the right they thought they were making the right decisions for us, because they love us and they wanted to set us up for success. But
Yeah.
then these individuals, after having spent years in banking or insurance or whatever,
Hmm.
and then, they have decided that, like, I know a friend of mine in Bombay, her name is Abhinanda. She
Hmm.
is now a fabulous chef. She
Hmm.
runs a very, very high-end catering service in Bombay, and she caters to very high-end parties in Bombay. And
Hmm.
she has studied economics, she studied business. She's worked for ICICI Prudential. She's worked for different banking sectors. She's worked for many other tech industries, and she's done that for 15, 20 years. And then she gave it all up, and she kind of submerged herself into her passion. So
Hmm.
I think, that is why it is happening to many of us, that we are discovering our desires and our dreams, uh, which were which were forced to be latent in us for a very long time.
Hmm.
And finally we are breaking through and doing the things that we wanted to always do it, but first did not have any opportunities. You could not become a yoga instructor, when you were 23 in
Okay.
this country, right?
No.
You
Hmm.
could not become an aerobics this thing or something. So, people are doing different things now because there is an opportunity. We
Yeah.
have lived life on other people's terms, and we have realized that we want to make ourselves happy. So
Hmm.
that's why we are, letting ourselves, giving ourselves the gift of living the life that we wanted to
Yeah.
live. So I guess that's why this is happening.
And I guess coupled with this is the fact that we also have this, the financial wherewithal to kind of, explore options. There is
Yeah,
opportunity, we have the financial ability, and there is acceptance as well. And of course, I think
absolutely, absolutely.
social media has also made, this is one advantage of social media, because you get so much exposure. You see so many people around you who are
Hmm.
doing different things. So even if there is
Hmm.
something latent inside you, it kind of has an opportunity or gets the opportunity to come
Yeah.
out because you see other people
Hmm.
do it. Yeah, yeah. So that is actually, yes, you have a point here. So, Kanchana, like every other woman, you have to play multiple roles in your life, like juggle different balls all the time. And that's, I mean, though of course women are known to be able to do it and in a better manner than men, but it is never easy, like one thing comes at the cost of another thing. So is there any way that you have kind of any strategy that you follow, or any any trick that you have which you kind of use to keep yourself centered and to be able to do exactly what you have to do and when? So like I said, how do you
So I
juggle?
think, of course, since I'm a Virgo, that's my zodiac sign. So I make lists and lists and lists, endless lists. There is a master list of all the lists that I've made. So I think, trying to be disciplined and making lists and, putting up reminders. But I think more than that, it is very important to understand and accept that I can't do everything on my own.
Yeah.
And it is perfectly fine to ask for help, to perfectly fine to keep people who can do that job instead of me. Like,
Hmm.
I don't have to sit and make my son's breakfast before he goes to school. I
Hmm.
much rather sit with him while he's having breakfast and walk him to the bus stop,
Yeah.
rather than slaving over making, the perfect paratha. So I think it's very important for women to also understand, prioritize what is important and what can be, what can be given away to
Hmm.
others to perform. So
Yeah.
that is very important, and to try and not take things so seriously. So, to explain my point, I'll give you an example. There is this friend of mine from school, and of course now her kids are all grown up. But when I reconnected with her in Bombay after many years, because we had kind of left school long back. So
Hmm.
she was working for a bank. She and her husband. Now this friend of mine, she's an super intelligent woman. She has graduated from IIM Ahmedabad. So a
Okay.
person who's graduated from IIM Ahmedabad is not a no mean cookie, right? She's
Not at
like
all.
she's a very super intelligent person, highly successful. She was working in a bank. Can you believe it? Every Sunday she used to iron one big pile of clothes herself. Now she had twins. She has
Oh.
twins, twin boys.
Hmm.
She believes that only I can iron their clothes well. I used to tell her that, what's
Oh my
wrong
God.
with you? Why
Hmm.
do you have to sit? She said, no, I don't think it is not hygienic to give it out. And this is pre-COVID, matlab many, many years before
Hmm.
COVID. I can
Hmm.
understand if during COVID and after COVID, people don't want to give it out. But then even if you're not giving out, keep someone to do it, no? What
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
this expression of love through ironing your kids' clothes and
Yeah.
breaking your back? So prioritize what is important,
Yeah.
what you need to do, and what can be outsourced to someone else. I
Yes.
think that is very important. And
Yeah.
just, and it's very important for women to have women friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It's very,
agree.
very important to have girlfriends, to hang out with them, to go with them, and to understand and believe that the world will not come crashing down if you don't stand in the kitchen and cook 3 meals for them.
True.
Nobody is going to go hungry. People are not going to die of hunger.
Yeah.
And, and things will get done.
I agree.
So, uh,
I think it's more to do with us, and especially the educated women. I think we do realize, but then, like, I think a lot of us don't feel the need, I mean, don't feel that we can delegate. There is, a little bit of guilt associated with it, that if I get somebody else to do it, then maybe, I don't love my family that much, but that's not true.
that's
You
not true.
like, yes, you have to like strike a balance. You can't do everything, so don't try. You're not a superwoman.
Yeah,
Don't try to be one.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's
that
perfectly fine
realization.
not to cook with them, cook for them, go and play with them.
Yeah,
Children don't really understand the difference between eating a perfect paratha or something else. Go and play with your kids.
yeah.
Spend that. I'm not saying don't spend time with your kids, but spend the time in a different manner.
Yes, which is, I think, more productive and helps you to connect better with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. I agree. So, Kanchana, my final question. Can a woman have it all?
Yeah, I saw this question in your list and I have a very funny answer ready for you.
Okay, I am all ears.
I think women can have it all as long as every woman has a very efficient wife.
Oh,
I think every woman needs a very efficient wife
hmm.
who can be in the form uh, of a domestic help. It
Okay.
can be a husband who performs the duties of a wife, can be a mother, can be, can be a mother-in-law, can be anyone else. But
Yeah.
every woman needs a very efficient wife who takes care of a lot of ancillary things while she's going all guns to make her dreams come true. Because
Okay.
as I said, woman, you don't have to do everything all by yourself. You don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to be a superwoman. Nobody is going to give you an Oscar or a Nobel Prize for doing it all.
Hmm.
Get help. It's just a joke that I'm saying that get a wife, but get help. Get
Yes.
someone to do those jobs. And yeah, you can have it all if you want to. And it is perfectly fine to not want to have it all. There's a friend of mine who's a fabulous baker, and
Hmm.
she does not want to open a cafe or does not want to start a business. She said, I just like cooking for my family and I
Hmm.
like cooking for my friends. And she's very happy with that. So you don't have to, everyone does not need to go out blazing to get everything. But if you want to go and live your dreams and make your dreams come true, and if you want to make a mark and do something exemplary, please get help
Yes.
to do a lot of things. So, I think women can have it all if they have an efficient wife.
That's a good one. I think, yeah, yeah, like you said, you can, first of all, I think you need to know what your all is.
Yeah,
And I also feel that it is an all which you want and you've decided. And then
absolutely.
focus on that. Don't try to do
Yeah,
other things which maybe are not part of
yeah,
the all, but you
true.
kind of feel duty bound. So yes,
Hmm.
delegate, get others to do it. I think we need to be clear-headed about what we want, and then
True,
we surely can get
true,
it. Yeah, that's right.
true.
Okay, so Kanchana, thank you very much. That was indeed, very, very an interesting interaction because so I am an aspiring author myself. So it was, very interesting and very, enlightening because, there are so many things that you feel that, okay, maybe I know this right or I don't. So coming from you, yes, it made a lot of sense and I could resonate with a number of things. And I'm sure there are other people, other women, young girls, women who will get inspired by all that you had to say. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. It was lovely chatting with you, and I just loved your questions. Very thoughtful and very well-crafted questions, and it was wonderful. And thank you once again.
Thank you so much.